Well, greetings, salutations, and blessings to you once again. It's your friend Gunnar Nelson here from Nelson with my good news of the day live from Nashville, Tennessee, and my rehearsal studio. Thank you for joining me again, and I want to thank you in advance for spreading the word. We are building this community. Our numbers are going up because it seems to me that apparently there are a lot of people that need a little dose of good news in their lives every day, no matter how trivial or how grand they might be. So today's good news, I want to actually kind of go on more of the environmental tip. Here's something that's positive that I just learned about in the middle of all of this craziness that we've got going around us. Matthew and I, a lot of you know, grew up in Southern California. And Matthew and I grew up doing all things oceanic, from skimboarding, surfing, snorkeling and all that stuff. And when we were 18 years old, our friend Susie Mayer taught each one of us how to scuba dive, and Matthew and I took it pretty far. We're both rescue divers for PADI, which is the certification organization for scuba diving, and we love it. We actually grew up scuba diving off the California coast. And for scuba divers, you know, I mean, especially if you're doing resort diving or you're down in the Bahamas when you're actually scuba diving for the first time, that's like being in a bathtub with no current, which is wonderful and it's beautiful, but it's not challenging. California diving, very different. Being off the California coast, the currents are exceptionally heavy. The water is very, very cold, necessitating, even in the summertime, having to wear a full wetsuit with a balaclava hood, gloves, booties, the whole thing, you name it. And again, having to pick your way across the ocean bottom with currents that could be life-threatening. We are overqualified is what I'm saying, but we've always loved the ocean deeply, have been completely connected with the ocean, and we will always be. So the hardest thing about living here in Tennessee is not being close to the Pacific. I do love the Atlantic. I've been all over the world, and I love all the oceans, but for me, growing up, you know, off of Los Angeles, that whole California coast really has a very close place in my heart, a very dear place in my heart. Today's good news has to do with that because apparently NOAA, which is the National Oceanographic Association of America, they're really the ones that are in charge of all kinds of research on aquatic species all over the world. But NOAA actually has just released the findings of a study that because of an act that they put into practice, they actually lobbied for a law off California's coast that would prohibit the use of gill nets in fishing. Now, gill nets have been going back thousands of years, but they're very indiscriminate as to how they actually catch fish. All kinds of, they're not targeted to specific species or even to certain depths. And let's say you're going for cod and stuff, you're still going to catch all kinds of sharks and otters and dolphins and the things that you don't want to catch in those nets. And for literally thousands of years, that kind of fishing has gone unchecked. But because certain species were actually disappearing off the California coast, in 1990, NOAA lobbied for a law to prohibit the use of gill nets for the foreseeable future, which they did. And what I just learned today is there's a little known species called the harbor porpoise, and this actually is a small-toothed whale specifically that, excuse the pun because they use sonar, always flew under the radar. A little known species, but in 1990, when they did their census to the best of their ability, they actually guesstimated that there were only about 45 of these harbor porpoises left because of gillnet overfishing. And since the ban, they just did another census, and that number is up to 4,000. So from 45 to 4,000 is substantial. Not only that, but apparently other species that were routinely caught in gill nets, like the great white shark, which, for better or worse, I've actually grown up dealing with great white sharks off the California coast. They're part of the environment. What can I say? You know, they always say that you never have to worry about being eaten by a great white shark as long as you're the fastest swimmer. They also say, you know, the reason why divers carry dive knives is in case you see a shark, you get to cut your buddy and then swim. Just joking. But I think it's a wonderful thing that these numbers are actually going up. It's very rare that you see species on a decline and you see such a profound rebound in such a short amount of time. So from 1990 to today, that number has gone from 45 to 4,000. I just think that's remarkable. Keep up the good work. and keep up being, good stewards of the ocean. If you're out and about, make sure you pick up your own trash. Don't chuck it into the water. And remember, everything you flush down your drain winds up in the ocean at some point. So keep mindful. And on that note, I think that's great news. Lots of love to you guys. All right. I know it sounds pretty random, but I just thought it was pretty exciting. And I'll be back tomorrow with more good news. And I hope you're going to join me. All right. God bless. We'll see you soon.